Welcome back. We're here to talk about Saturday's Premier League match between Sunderland and Southampton at the Stadium of Light. Pascal, we've got to start with the home side 6-2 drubbing at the hands of Everton last time out.
Yeah, it leaves them 19th in the table, and certainly it wasn't necessarily the worst performance of the season, but just they had a really bad spell where they conceded 4 in 20 minutes after getting back to 2-2, which really did cost them. Because in the first half they started quite well. Van Aanholt and Defoe, Adam Johnson both hit the post there, and both decent chances. They were so close to taking the lead there, but then the 2 goals they conceded in the first half, both really poor from a defensive point of view. The first one, I don't know how Deulofeu's got that much space. He wasn't even out on the wing. He was quite central there and just completely unmarked. He ran through, cut inside, and Pantilimon, he'll be disappointed the way it went under him. But his goalkeeping for the second one was really poor. I thought it was a nice move from Everton on the edge of the box. Kone and Lukaku linking up, but the way Kone, he did well to sort of work the space, but Pantilimon, he just went down and didn't even bother putting his arm up. I was really, maybe he was unsighted a little bit by the defender in front, but he just didn't really seem to go for it and just gave up on the shot, almost the moment it was hit, which I thought was quite an odd one. But Sunderland, they did fight back there. They got their goals through Defoe and Fletcher. The Defoe one was massive for him. I think it was the last kick of the half. There's a little deflection, but he did well. Beat Stones to the ball. It was bad defending from Stones to allow Defoe to get in there, but he flicked it over one defender and then finished it into the corner. That was a good finish. And then obviously Fletcher getting them back to 2-2. And at that point you thought they're back in the game, but then like I said, they had that really bad spell. They conceded a few more goals. One of those an own goal from Coates, which you probably say he didn't really have too much. Well, he was obviously trying to clear it. It's one of those where he felt he had to do something because Lukaku was right there to head it in. And I think the thing that teams have to do when they're playing Everton, Deulofeu, he loves doing those crosses where he sort of shapes as if he wants to run down the outside, but then he'll pick that gap, inside the fullback, and then he'll hit that cross into that sort of corridor of uncertainty there. He's done it a few times this season. I think defences, they need to be a bit wary of that and maybe try and just cut him off at the source a bit more. Don't give him too much space. But as for Sunderland, like I said, they're sitting there 19th, and that game last week, they did so well, in the first half with those chances, then to get it back to 2-2, but the way they just folded after that is just a sign of a really struggling side, and especially the way they obviously won the Time Weir derby the week before, and to not really follow that up, and to lose 6-2 like that, really disappointing.
They have had a lot of disappointing results this season. They are still in touch, only 2 points from safety, but we always come back to it, is the defence is that let them down so often. Worst defence in the league with 25 goals conceded in 11 games. They've actually conceded 32 in 13 games in all competitions so far this season. Only kept that one clean sheet in the Weir Tyne derby against Newcastle. Allardyce said after the match that they just need to sort out the defensive frailties, and they do, because too often this season we've been talking about them conceding multiple goals, mostly avoidable ones as well. They've just been so poor defensively. I can't really remember a season where a team has made so many defensive errors or conceded so many avoidable goals at such an early stage of the season. It's just every single match they seem to concede 1 or 2 goals that should be avoided. They've allowed 69 shots on target in the league this season, which is more than any other team, which is obviously the root of the problem. They need to stop those shots, get into Pantilimon's goal. Pantilimon himself, as you said, has covered himself in glory as well. So much work to be done for Allardyce to tighten the side up at the back. That needs to be his priority. You're going to need goals to get out of the mire to win matches, but it's got to start at the back, because they haven't got the goals in the team to be outscoring opponents when they're conceding so many.
They'll hope that returning to the Stadium of Light gives them a decent chance, because 5 of their 6 points have come at home this season. They drew with Swansea and West Ham. Both of those decent enough results, and then obviously the win over Newcastle. But like you said, that one clean sheet they did have in that win over Newcastle, it should never have been a clean sheet. Newcastle, were battering the door down in that first half, couldn't quite get the goal, and then they got the penalty, but the red card, which has since been rescinded, that was obviously dubious and helped them in that game clearly. So they were a bit lucky in their last home game, and Southampton here's a tough one. And you look at their fixtures before, you get to January when Allardyce is obviously he's probably going to try and sign some players, try and strengthen. I mean, defensively they have to strengthen, like you said, but before the year is out, they've still got 6 of the current top 10 to play. Before that's in their 8 games before the turn of the year, so it's a really tough end to the year for them. And Southampton here, that's a really difficult game, because Southampton have looked pretty good of late, but the way Sunderland are going, it's hard to, like you said, defence. If you're going to allow that many shots on target, it's never going to go well for you. Pantilimon last season was kept them in a lot of games. He had some great games last season, but like I say, he hasn't quite done that this year. And at the moment, Sunderland, they really look there for the taking, I think, and they need a huge turnaround if they're going to avoid relegation.
Yeah, and they're coming up against Southampton team unbeaten in 7 games in all competitions. Only lost twice in the league this season, which only Leicester and Tottenham have lost fewer games than them this season. So they're doing very well at the moment. It was an iffy start to the campaign, but they've certainly turned things around. They're moving in the right direction now. 2-0 against Bournemouth last time out. It was a game of 2 halves really for them. They played very well in the first half, completely dominant. One-way traffic, went in 2-0 up. Perhaps should have been more. Davis really nicely worked goal to open the score, and then Pele shown his dominance in the air against Distan. I think Distan should have been stronger, but Pele, take nothing away from the header, it was a really good attacking header for him, and kept up his fantastic record of scoring at home. He always backed him to score in that match, and he delivered, and Tadic with the 2 assists, 2 really good crosses for him as well. So Pele, Tadic, Mane, that front three really working well for Southampton at the moment. Things are certainly looking good. Ronald Koeman said the first half was the best they'd played so far this season, so that's a positive sign. A sign that they're moving in the right direction. There will be a concern that the second half Bournemouth came very much back into the game, and Wanyama's red card left Southampton hanging on towards the end of the match. But the first half especially, if they can play like that over the course of 90 minutes, then they'll fancy winning their chances more, winning more games than they lose. So.
Yeah, I think with that Bournemouth game, even though Bournemouth obviously did have loads more possession in the second half and Wanyama did get sent off, they didn't really threaten that much, I didn't think. Southampton, they always looked confident at 2-0. If Bournemouth had nicked a goal, then obviously it might have been a different story, but they always looked like they were cruising there. And like you said, unbeaten in 7 games in all competitions. They've won 3 of their last 5, including that really good win at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea, drawn with Liverpool and Leicester as well. So they've had some difficult games to negotiate, and then they'll go into this one away at Sunderland really confident of getting another win. I think going into these 2 games, Bournemouth and Sunderland, Ronald Koeman would really have said, right, we need 6 out of 6 here. In the first half in that Bournemouth game, said it's the best they've played all season, so he'll hope they can continue that here. And look at where they're sitting in the table now, they're 7th there, just 4 points off the top 4. Arsenal and City have sort of, just moved a little bit ahead at the top there, but the rest of the teams there, we've talked about United, they haven't looked all that convincing this season. We obviously know that Chelsea are way down there, and I think 15th they are, but Liverpool improving slightly, Spurs look alright, but I think there's a lot of teams, Leicester still sitting up there in 3rd. We expect them to drop away. But Southampton, 7th place at the moment. That's where they finished last season, of course. And if they can achieve another top 7 finish, that would be a huge achievement for them. And, certainly away from home, they've been very solid this year. They haven't actually lost away from home this season. They've only won 1 as well. They've drawn 4 of their 5 away games. But, if you draw, say, that ratio, as long as you get a lot of wins at home, it does bode well for a good season. If they can just turn a few of those draws into a few more wins on the road, then they could really start to move up the table.
Southampton did beat Sunderland 8-0 last season. It was a St Mary's, but do you see another convincing win for the Saints here?
I see them winning this game. I don't see 8-0, but I think certainly they should win this game. And yeah, I mean, Southampton, they've looked really solid defensively late, and I can't really see Sunderland scoring against them, to be honest. I'm going to go for another 2-0 Saints win.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It should be a fairly straightforward Southampton 1 Sunderland. Just can't see them keeping a clean sheet at the moment, and as you say, Southampton should be able to keep them at bay, so I'm going to agree with 2-0 there as well. So both going for fairly comfortable Southampton victories. Thanks for joining us.